when you have now the impression of the new one, this is how it looked like March and April 94, last year, 1994. This was 10 pages and very small. And this was actually not made by me. This was other crew before, and I was starting to write articles. I had question and answers. And this went on for about a year. And then the devotee said, there's no one who is doing it, and if I can do that for full. So that is then the first number. It's 96, no, 96, auspicious. And this was the first number which I did. Here a picture of me 30 years ago. And with, you might know her, Sudhamani, and the little daughter Marisha, who is a mother herself by now. So she made me a grandfather. This is also Prabhupada centennial, 1896 to 1996. That was the 100-year birthday of Srila Prabhupada. Well, it went on, and after then I made it for full with the help of others. I changed the looks. Govinda, he was saying, well, nowadays the looks are more important than the... And of course this was still in the 90s. So I thought it looks quite far out, isn't it? Even in the year 2000, the first of this year, millennium, was this. Then I found this is maybe should be a bit more classy, and I made this logo smaller, and then it stayed more or less the same. Little changes came. This was from 2005, and the last number I made was then September, October 23. So by the unlucky incident, I was not able to do it anymore. I was a long time in hospital, and no one was doing it until about 1 year later. Govinda Prabhu came up and said, it cannot be that, it just stops. This is such a long published issue, so it should just continue. And I said, yes, you have my blessings, and yes, I would be very happy and thankful, but I'm not able to do. I can give my thoughts and everything, my good wishes, but I cannot do it. My hands are on the computer and everything. It's very difficult. So he was taking over, and he had the help of Nitya Kishore, he's not here. And the result you have seen, and you see it also. Prabhupada has got the first copy there. And like we heard with Prabhupada, that he said, well, your guru, the presence of your guru is important, but much more important are his words. So, and Prabhupada is saying, I will not stay here forever, but my books will stay. So produce read and study the books. So I hope that you are very inspired by the new magazine, and Govinda and the team, they did their best, and I mean, it looks much more far out than this ever did. Of course, it was 30 years, and every 2 months it came without fail, so that is something. But now, the optical issue is very, very beautiful. So I hope it's up to you now that you are inspired, and it's up to you to order it, to buy it. Otherwise, what's the use of perfect words, of perfect design, if no one is interested in it? It's no use. So this is also the words of Srila Prabhupada that we heard yesterday, the song that Prabhupada was writing while passing over, and he was actually, we can say, hopeless. That he said, how should I make them understand? He was more and more realizing it was not just another country, it was a different universe, a different world, which went to the west, to America. And he was just having great faith in Krishna. He was saying, well, you brought me here, so it's up to you to make me a success or a failure. It's up to you. I just give my best. So that is also what we can do. We can do our best, and we hope you are interested in the words, articles, and everything. So Prabhupada, he brought his books and always emphasized, read the books. And now I have the great honor to talk about Srila Prabhupada. I'm old enough, but I never had any association with him, because at that time I had more important things to do in my life. I was not interested in spiritual life. But before I was 20 years of age, early in the 70s, my father, he came home and he gave me a book. He said, some funny people, they gave him this book and asked for a donation. And I don't know what that was. And he said, well, but I thought all this Indian stuff, it interests you. And I said, oh, yeah, because 1969 was the Woodstock Festival. You might remember. I thought, wow, that's it. That's new life. And in this Woodstock Festival, there was also a guru speaking. It was actually opening. I don't even know. I think it was called Satchinandan Swami. We also have a Satchinandan Swami here, but it's not the same. Of course, I thought it was fantastic. I saw the movie in a cinema, and I don't know how much later it was, a few years later. I saw this huge movie about Woodstock. And then, of course, I was a fan of the Beatles, and I heard the Beatles, they go to India. And so now my father gave me this Bhagavad Gita, and I was thinking, well, okay, let's read it. And I thought this strange name on the front. Must be some Indian guru, I don't know. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Who could say this name? But then I thought, well, you might as well read it. So I started to read. It was a description of a battlefield. All warriors, and we all had strange names, and my God. But then was a really good scene. There was the warrior, he was called Arjuna. And he refused to fight. He said, I will not fight, even if we would win this war. How could we be happy? They're all my relatives there. Yes, he is right. Now it becomes interesting. This man is right. Because I also thought, make love, not war. Flower power was all the hippie time. It was real great. It was fantastic. Rather smoke dope and make love, not war. And I thought, well, Arjuna, he really got it. He really got it. And now comes this Krishna. And he says, I couldn't believe it. There was some Indian god. And he was saying, how come these impurities upon you? Stand up and fight. Huh? What the hell? Stand up and fight. And I was immediately stopped. This is some Indian god of war. It is not for me. So I'm a fantastic example for Prabhupada's words. They have to be willing. They have to be willing to read. It can be a perfect book, but if you're not willing, it is your free will given by Krishna. You can turn towards him or turn away from him. So it is your free will. So I thought, okay, no, there's some Indian god of war. But this Bhagavad Gita stayed there in my room for years and years. And I started working, even went to the army and everything. And I became a fully adult man who had to work. And I was learning how to program computers. It was in the 70s. This was quite an amazing new thing. Wow, computers, programming them. And after 6 years, I was thinking, where does it end? I was looking at my father. Why do you still work? Yeah, everyone is working till 65. And then you can enjoy life. 65! My God, when I'm 65, I will have no long hair anymore, and probably they're all gray now. Look at me now, I'm 70. And I was right then. I was right. I was seeing the future clearly. No hair and gray are there. I thought, no, stop. I will not do this. Today I was thinking, this Bhagavad Gita in my bookshelf, I never read it again, never tried. But I think it was working. So I sold everything. The Bhagavad Gita stayed there in my parents' room. And I went traveling around the world. And make a long story short, I traveled around South America for 1 year, Middle America, and I came to the USA. Through Mexico. And I was a little bit sick of all this hard traveling. I wanted to have comfortable. I bought a little mobile home in San Diego. And then I went to the San Diego Zoo. And I looked at the fantastic animals. And there was a young lady, like in a sari, so strange. And she gave me a little book. And can I leave a little donation? Well, there's $1. Okay, you're happy with it? Oh, yeah, thank you. And I was looking at this little book, Search for Liberation. Srila Prabhupada discusses with John Lennon. And his face there and John Lennon's face there. Search for liberation. Wow, liberation? Yes, I am liberated. I got away from Switzerland and from my work. Now I'm traveling the world, liberated as I am. Now, what are the Beatles? What has John Lennon? A problem? What a far-out situation are the Beatles in there. They are famous in the world and rich, and Yoko Ono was also there. And they had this discussion, and I was flickering through the pages, and because I felt, yes, liberated, I am liberated. It's not my theme now. But I always kept it on the dashboard of the car, Prabhupada's face, John Lennon's face. And I'm driving a year up to Alaska and back down again, and I always was thinking, this old man, Prabhupada, he looks like he knows answers. And John Lennon, he looks like he doesn't even know the questions for these answers. What to speak of the answers? I don't know why I thought this, but it just came to me. But I never read it really. And sometimes I flickered through and thought, oh, well, you should have a guru and you should chant some mantra stuff. But now the whole of the US was waiting, the rest of the world was waiting. So I drove after Alaska, drove down, sold the car and went to the South Pacific Islands, to Tahiti and Bora Bora and everything, until I found, well, it was beautiful. But now, still I have work to do. Let's go to New Zealand. And then New Zealand was sort of my mother always was saying, if you dig down the earth and you go through the middle of course, don't try it, you cannot do it. But if you would, and then you come out on the other end, you would be somewhere in New Zealand. It is the other side of the world, and you cannot go further away from here. So, wow, now I'm in New Zealand. But what is my life all about? Traveling, now I was almost 2.5 years on the way, and then another 2 or 3 years, and then what am I doing? I was a little bit, I don't know, frustrated. I had a traveling blues or something like that. And I went out to this Globetrotter Lodge, Ivanhoe Lodge it was called, in Auckland. And next to the bed there was a little table, and on the table it was a little book. By the way, it was not this was the book I got, still the original, Search for Liberation, from 81. No? And on this book, this is not the original one. In New Zealand, I found this book. Again, this funny name. This is the same person who wrote this. And coming back, he says the signs of reincarnation. Does he believe in reincarnation? Wow, this is far out, because I was hearing about reincarnation, and in the 70s you didn't have so much esoteric books. Some bookshops had 4 or 5 little ones. Today you have the whole bookstores are full of esoteric themes. But then I never heard of reincarnation. Some were saying, well, some people, they have near-death experience and so on. Now I have this book as a signs of reincarnation. I was starting to read, and the whole night I was just reading. I just couldn't believe this man. Why does he know everything? It didn't seem to me is like, a religion. He was not saying, well, you have to follow this and don't make any sins, otherwise you go to hell and whatever. He was just making complete good arguments. He was talking about the physics, the science. He was saying, well, the physics, they say energy does not come out of nothing and does not dissolve into nothing. It just transforms. The amount of energy is the same. It stays the same. Out of water, you can make electricity. Out of electricity, you can make, you name it. But the energy still stays. It transforms. So why, he asks, why should your life energy, why should that just dissolve into nothing? It will just continue. And I don't know if it's in this book or if I heard it later, this example. Well, if the light is not working anymore, maybe the light bulb is broken. So you screw it out and you put in a new one and it burns. So the same with your body. Your body burns out, getting old. So, yes. And then one day it will just shoom. But your life just continues. You get a new bulb. And he was talking like that. You get a reincarnation according to your karma. You just get a new body. So what's the problem? I was like, it was amazing. Why does he know all these things and I do not know anything? I couldn't believe it. Where does he know it from? The Vedas. And again, I don't know if he writes here about the Bhagavad Gita. And I thought maybe I should read again the Bhagavad Gita. I remember that it was a strange book for me. But a couple of days later on the bus station in New Zealand, I found again a book of Srila Prabhupada, Life Comes from Life. And he was challenging evolution. He said, yes, life comes from life, not by just mixing and mixing and mixing chemicals and whatever, and millions or billions of years, and suddenly something like me has come out. Can you imagine? No, it's just, no, it will never happen. You just imagine you can, all the pieces of a computer, so thousands of pieces, you can throw them all in a bucket and shake it. Suddenly you have a fantastic program. No, it will not happen. You have to, of course you need a programmer like I was, but first of all you need an electric power. You need the consciousness of the computer's electricity. So what is your consciousness? It's a different thing, has nothing to do with the body. So life comes from life, I was finding and I was thinking, well, this is really far out. And down in Christchurch, I met the devotees, funny people, no hair and singing Hare Krishna and things like that. But I was knowing they have these books, and I went to them and asked for more books. They didn't have more. And they told me, up in Auckland, we have a farm community. And up there I went. And this was it. I thought, my God, these people, they live a far out life. And I stayed there. And yes, after I went to Australia, where I got initiated, and then I was a pujari there. And then I really started to read and study Srila Prabhupada's books. And as a pujari, of course, you have the pujari does all the altar worship. He cooks for the deities. He dresses the deities. And I was there for 4 years. And you get up very early in the morning, but then during the daytime you have a lot of time to read. So I was really starting to read these books, and again I found the Bhagavad Gita and I started to do it, and I knew about Prabhupada now, and okay, probably also read the introduction of Prabhupada and not just jump to the verses and read the introduction and learn more. So I'm, as I said, I'm an example of a person who might not be ready because there's so many other things in his head or her head. I was not ready for the Bhagavad Gita at that time. So maybe you think of yourself when you first, if you ever did, first read one book of Srila Prabhupada. Was it interesting for you, or was it boring for you, or was it against your angle of vision of the world, or whatever? So you might think maybe the book is perfect, maybe it is, but it might not be the right time for you. Maybe you are not ready for it. For in my example, it was like, yes, when I had first Bhagavad Gita, I was not ready. But I was thinking, I'm looking through, yes. Make love, not war, yes, of course. So why? So it was too strange for me. But then, when I read it again, okay. And Prabhupada was just doing everything perfectly. And I was seeing then there on this farm community, he was also stressing these things. Grow your own vegetable. Have your own milk, and even have your own schools and everything. So he was just giving a plan for a whole new lifestyle that you can just enter and live there. And I was amazed that I'm just a traveler, long hair, and I just could walk in there. They gave me a caravan to live in, and I was just there. And after 2.5 years of traveling, my God, they had food. It was, they called it prasadam or whatever, but it was unbelievable. And I was, in a short time I gained a few kgs, and I just felt, wow, this is so far out. And they never asked for anything. And after 3 weeks, I was Jai Shila, called temple president. I was asking him, maybe could I help something here? Oh, good that you ask, he said. Well, there's always a lot of things to do. And I said, oh my God. I'm just sitting here and eating like anything and reading. And he says, oh, there's so much things to do. Yeah, of course you can help. And I found myself picking weeds on a hot ground. An acre was there. And then I saw this very beautiful little, they have this in New Zealand, they have these big ferns, and they make very beautiful shadow. But sometimes they, all the old ferns, these twigs, they hang down, and then they get thicker and thicker, and they touch each other, and you cannot come through. So I was asking if I can have an axe or something. I want to free this little nice orchard there with the ferns, and he gave me this bamboo rod with how is called a sickle, scythe, yeah, in front of it, very sharp, and I was very proud of it. Now I can do real service, and was starting to hack down, and yes, I hacked very enthusiastically, and then I missed it, and it stuck to my knee, and again, I was sitting there and reading and eating. And after 4 days, I took away, and it started to bleed like anything. They said, "Oh, you should have gone to the doctor." And we went to the doctor. He said, "Yeah, well, you should have a zone. And now you cannot do anymore. It's 4 days old, and I promise you, your knee will hurt the whole life." But he was wrong. But I had other problems. So then I started really to love Srila Prabhupada's books and the Bhagavad Gita and so on. And I really can say, well, yes, these books actually saved my life insofar that I just had a new vision of everything. It's just, and Prabhupada was saying, if you want to become Krishna conscious, first you have to become conscious. And I thought, well, yes, first I had to become conscious of my situation of the world and everything. So this all traveling and everything, it helped me. Even I had a Bhagavad Gita at home, but it actually didn't help because I was not ready for it. Now I was ready. I had become sort of conscious. I had a certain angle of vision of myself. And of course, you learned there, yes, you're not the body, mind, intelligence, false ego, all this very philosophical question about being a human being. So Prabhupada was very, very nice how he brought these themes. And then I started to have these personal experiences with him. Of course, not through his person, but I started to watch movies. And in New Zealand, they had these movies about Srila Prabhupada. And you could see there when he was talking to different occasions, and he was giving interviews to reporters. And wow, I was thinking, now we can see this man. And I was wondering how he talks, because I read many of his books. Now, how does he talk to the people directly? And then there was a movie about an interview. I don't know where it was, I think in America somewhere. And a bunch of reporters, he was sitting there, and a bunch of reporters were there, and he was opening for questions. And there was this, it was actually, yes, quite funny and also a little bit bold of Prabhupada, because a lady was getting up. She had long, beautiful blonde hair and an extremely short miniskirt. And she was standing there, and of course, in the 70s then, she was standing there and was asking, Swamiji, why do the men shave their heads at your movements? And I was thinking, now Prabhupada is saying about quotes from the literature of, yes, it's renunciation and pureness. But Prabhupada, he was just lying back and looking at her. He's just saying, obviously, you like cool legs. My disciples like cool heads. And he was not saying anything more. That was his answer. And they were just all, I thought, it's far out. How he realized, Prabhupada realized in a split second, he realized the scene, he realized his audience. A completely perfect answer. He could have said so many things, and he said just, and it was even a rhyme, legs and heads. You like cool legs, my disciple like cool heads. Probably he was thinking, probably they get hot heads if they see me. And he was just, it was amazing. And he was just saying no more. And then I was thinking, wow, far out. Such a funny answer and just to the point. And then another reporter came up and said, I tried to remember. Yes, it was about this. Is it true that in your movement you do brainwashing? And I thought, oh wow, brainwashing. This was the time of the Cold War, the time that starts again. The Cold War, and maybe you saw movies about the Russians would get them and put them in prison and not let them sleep and loud music and whatever, and then until they got brainwashed. And now how this reporter was asked, is it true that you do brainwashing? And I was thinking, well, now Prabhupada is really now what does he say? It's unbelievable. He just takes the word, washing. What is wrong with washing the brain? If your T-shirt is dirty, you wash it. If your shirt is dirty, you wash it. You wash your hair. Even you brush your teeth. I don't know if he said that, but on Saturday you wash your car. So what's wrong with washing the brain? And that was it. So the reporter, he was actually, now he should explain what is washing, what's wrong with washing the brain. But he, of course, he didn't say nothing. It was just, and Prabhupada didn't say more. What's wrong with washing the brain? All these questions. There was, one was asking, but young people who come to your movement, they escape from life. I also heard this also when I went traveling. Yes, you just escape from life. And now this reporter was asking, yes, they come to your movement. They escape from life. No, of course not, would Prabhupada say. No, he was saying, escaping, that's a sign of intelligence. Huh? Yes, if you feel discomfort, if you feel narrow in your life, you change the situation. This is a sign of intelligence. They come here, they try it. If they don't like it, they go again. It's a sign of intelligence. Escaping from life. That's a sign of intelligence. So it's just these short answers and no, you might say, no philosophy. And Prabhupada was so conscious, of course, Krishna conscious, but this consciousness of the situation, of the people, it was just amazing. He was just saying, he was just noticing what are these people? They're disciples interested in Krishna? No, they're reporters. They want to have a good story, and then now they're working, and then they go home and write the story, and that's it. So short answer and to the point, and that's it. And Krishna conscious was another scene. They gave Prabhupada an article. I don't know, it was a newspaper or some magazine. An article, he was full of, I was reading that article after, it was full of accusations and everything that you could say of a sect, that does brainwashing and everything. And Prabhupada was reading it. The whole thing, and reading, not saying anything, reading. And then he says, it's a very good article. What? Then I forgot, he said a number. I read 15 times I read the name of Krishna. It is a good article. People who read this article, they read Krishna's name 15 times. All the other nonsense, they forget anyway. They cannot keep it anyway. But they read 15 times Krishna's name. It's amazing, isn't it? This is Krishna conscious. It's just the essence of everything. It's just all the nonsense. They just read Krishna's name 15 times. It's Krishna. So everyone who reads this reads Krishna. Yes. This is Agyata Sukriti. You may also unknowingly have read Krishna somehow. Maybe I did in the Bhagavad Gita, although I didn't like it, but before. And then, in the right time, I was ready for it. This was really amazing. And my spiritual master, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who was a disciple of Prabhupada, he was telling me also once another of the same kind of story. So much difficulties they had in when they bought the land in Bombay for the temple there. Anyway, he was saying so many problems, and we did sometimes we did some nonsensical thing and so. And whenever it happened, and you wanted to go to Prabhupada and explain why this and this went wrong, and Prabhupada just saw you coming in and say, I know you're not a thief. And why do you say I'm not a thief? And Prabhupada was smiling, saying, this is Bengali humor, this is a Bengali story. And he was telling the story of a rich Bengali man. He had a huge mansion, and he was waking up in the night, hearing some shattering glass. He grabbing his gun, goes out to the hallway, and then he see this thief, this burglar, whole big bag full of things that he stole, and was even putting a golden chandelier in it. And he was pointing with the gun at this man, turning on the light. What are you doing here? The burglar, of course, he was in shock and said, just in case I'm not a thief. That was the end of the story. Prabhupada was saying it was complete obvious, of course. What else could he be than a thief? And his stupid excuse was, just in case I'm not a thief. So he wanted to say, when someone made a mistake, foolishly did something, Prabhupada wanted to say, just spare me your excuses. But he said it nicely, said, I know you're not a thief. Aber it is obvious you're a fool. You did some foolish things. But it just said, I know you're not a thief. It was so nice. Yeah, even the Bengali humor, he was also, even when he pointing to himself, Prabhupada was in his last weeks. My guru was saying they were somewhere in India, I forgot where, but Prabhupada was in bed. Might not be Vrindavan, was there long. But anyway, he could not move and he had to go to the toilet. And they had to go down a small staircase. And they had this sort of palanquin. He could sit, Prabhupada could sit there, and they could carry him 4 persons. But this was a narrow, steep little staircase. And so they lifted him, 2 in front, 2 held in the back, and then 2 more would go in the front just if someone is stolpering or something, falling, that they can hold. So it was 6 men carrying him, Prabhupada, down, and if they were down through the courtyard, he said Prabhupada was starting to smile, and very weak, but then he was saying, just see, my whole life I tried to be a humble servant of Krishna. Now I have a royal parade just to go to the toilet on a palanquin. So I say, yes. This was also, Bengali humor, yes. And Prabhupada was even pointing to himself. Now he needs a whole royal parade to go to the toilet. Yes. Yeah, these were some personal experiences, if you want to call it like that, that really made me so appreciate Prabhupada. Next to his writing, how he was reacting in, so to speak, normal life, how he just could immediately take notice of the situation and all the people that were involved. That was very, very beautiful. And so I was, still sorry that I didn't meet Srila Prabhupada in person, but there were so many other movies about him and unlimited books. So after 4 years, I finally was able, 87, I was able to go to Vrindavan, to India for the first time. And there was the first VIGE courses there. This is the Vrindavan Institute for Higher Education. They had some, philosophical courses you could take there. And I remember, Purichan Prabhu, he's gone, and he was saying, well, you're here to learn about the Vedas, and I tell you, you might learn the whole complete Vedas by heart and even recite it without any mistake. But I'm telling you, the main point is, what of all these points have you realized? That is the point of the whole thing. What have you realized? You can learn so many things, but you have to realize it. So I was taking that to heart, and I was trying, to realize it. And so, when I traveled around India, then I traveled back to New Zealand, and then my Guru Maharaj came to New Zealand, and he said, I need you. I came because of you, I came to New Zealand. because of me. Well, why else should you come? Of course you came because of me. So, no, he said, I need you for the China preaching mission. What? I want to go back to Switzerland, not to China. And so again he was telling about Prabhupada. Well, you might think you want to go to Switzerland, but I tell you, you have to go to China. Prabhupada, he told me, Prabhupada was even sending me to China long ago, but I was so much involved in, what was it, Los Angeles or San Francisco, I don't know where. Anyway, but Prabhupada just was saying, someone else can do it, you go to China. Now he was telling me, I need you for the China preaching mission. So I was thinking back to the words of Burichan Prabhu. He said, well, the point is, what have you realized? So I thought, well, maybe I can realize something and surrender. Okay, I go to China. So this was a very exciting time in China. And I was feeling a little bit, I was thinking always of Prabhupada. I was thinking, well, he by himself, he just went to New York as an elderly gentleman. And he made a worldwide movement. It is amazing. And was he incredibly able? Maybe, yes, you can say, but the only incredible thing about him was his deep faith in Krishna. And he was saying, it's up to you. Of course, I do what I can, but to make me a failure or a success is up to you. So this is surrender, and yes, this means Krishna consciousness. Yes, you are, whatever you do, you see it, Krishna. And actually, and again, I was seeing the Bhagavad Gita, and then I was realizing, this cover with the warrior wagon, with the warrior Arjuna and Krishna steering the chariot. By now I was thinking, well, this chariot, this is my body. And I am in there as sort of a warrior. But who is guiding the chariot? It is Krishna. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I'm seated in everyone's heart. From me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. It comes from me, says Krishna, and it is in your heart. So it's up to your will. It is up to your freedom. And he gives you the remembrance that you wish. So I think, okay, now I can look at the Bhagavad Gita in a different way. Yes, it's actually me, and Krishna is there. Krishna is there, and he guides me. Now I am in Shanghai. I'm in Shanghai, and about, I don't know, over more than 30 universities, 35 or so. And I have these addresses and to the universities, and sometimes we were invited to have yoga courses. And of course, the students, they were all underground, and they all gave us, we want to, of course, it was all English. They always had this, in the cities, they had these English corners, when the people came together to talk English, and all the tourists or whatever, businessmen, they also went to this English corner, and that was the only way to exchange with foreigners for the Chinese people. So we also went there, and this came, and we had invitations to the universities, and these addresses, some Chinese signs, and we were looking at the street signs, and well, it looks like it, yeah. And we had these little groups, and we were talking about Krishna, and I said, wow, I felt very close to Prabhupada, because it's not up to us. It's not up to us. And we cannot control it, what happens. And it really happened that it was May 89 in Beijing, in Peking. There was the Tiananmen Square massacre. It was the time that the students were very open. They wanted to have democracy and Western world and whatever. And it was too much for the Chinese government. And they started to stop it, and then they knew, okay, this student, it must stop. And they really, a few days before they had this plan, they arrested us all. And we were in prison then. And one polit officer, he came to me and he said, well, you may show some yoga, no problem. But you want to control what the people think. We control what they think, not you. Okay. This is a clear thing, okay? You control what the people think, and not some foreigners about yoga stuff and this. Yeah, they were deporting us to Hong Kong, which was not Chinese at that time, still British. Yeah, now I think, well, and I was glad to get out of there, and I thought, well, Prabhupada, he was like in a similar situation, and he just moved on and on and on and on, and he just never gave up. And it was just early in the morning he was translating books, and then he was traveling around the world. I mean, he came to Geneva and to everywhere. He was traveling and traveling and traveling, and I mean, and he started with, he was 70. I'm now 70, and oh my God, now I have to start a worldwide movement. My God, I'm glad if I take the bus and come back to my Heggibachplatz. Wow, I'm a hero. And Prabhupada, in his age, he moved to New York and started this movement, and we're talking about him today and remembering him and read his books and study his books. This is amazing. And you could speak endlessly, and it's 5 o'clock. And of course, I also want to at least inspire you to, if you have a book of Prabhupada at home, to read it again sometimes. I found out, yes, you can read Bhagavad Gita so many times. And I started just a little inspiration. I started to read Bhagavad Gita. Of course, it's a thick book. And just the verses without Prabhupada's purports. But the verses, I was always thinking, okay, what does Arjuna say? So I was reading the whole Bhagavad Gita. He doesn't say so much, but what was his questions? And I was writing this all down. And then you have all the questions. And then I was, most of the time, Krishna speaks. He explains the whole philosophy to Arjuna. Then I was thinking, now what does Krishna say about himself? So I was just reading the verses when Krishna says, I am. And it is amazing. I thought, well, Bhagavad Gita is not just about Krishna consciousness, it's about Krishna's consciousness. It's amazing. And it's just what Krishna says about himself. And then, after you've done this, you read, what does Krishna say about you, about the soul? What is the soul and what is the soul not? And I have all these verses, he talks about the soul. What does he say about yoga and yogis? Just these verses, just only these verses. And it's very, very interesting, very nice to read all these verses, and this is all about yoga, this is all about Krishna, this is all about the soul. It's very amazing, it's nice. So anyway, this was just a little inspiration to read Prabhupada's books. And of course, what Prabhupada also brought here is, yes, everything you do, you offer to Krishna, your thoughts, actually your whole life, but also your deeds, what you're, for example, nice things that you are cooking. You offer it to me. I will accept it. I will accept your love. Then you eat it. It's my accepted. So that's why the devotees call it prasadam. Actually, it's Krishna's mercy. He accepted it. We might have fear that he really comes and eats it all away. Sometimes you hear about some temples in India where sometimes they say that such thing can happen. Why not? But anyway, the point is that we also have this beautiful prasadam. Of course, there's no meat, no fish, no eggs. It's vegetarian. It's even veganized. I don't even know in English, vegan. Vegan, not veganized. It's vegan. Sometimes some people, they even overtake the vegetarians. They're vegan now, which of course is a good thing, I think, because if you have this industrial milk and how they keep cows and just milk, it is also not the meaning of keeping a cow and taking her milk and seeing the cow as the mother who's giving milk. So they're just production machines, many places. So anyway, it is now time for prasadam, so I don't want to keep you away from it. And I like to thank you for your rapt attention. I'm talking, and I hope that you will be happy with Prabhupada's books and also happy with the new Krishna's Freundeskreis magazine that you will order soon. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. His Grace Radhesyam Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you very much, Radhesyam Prabhu, for
Hare Krishna.
Beautifully explain or narrating your relationship with Srila Prabhupada. And I was just remembering, you said you were sorry that you didn't meet Prabhupada directly. I think when you got your first Bhagavad Gita, he was still around. But your narration, your story shows us that still later, through his books and all his, all his recordings, we can have a relationship with Srila Prabhupada, and we nicely heard your relationship with Srila Prabhupada, and I think everyone here can start a relationship with Srila Prabhupada. So in thinking this, in this special day, please get his books and listen to his words, and make your life adventurous as Radhesyam Prabhu's life. I don't know, Govinda Prabhu, you have something more to say about the Freundeskreis?
Yeah, whoever is eager to get one, please come to me. Krishnas Freundeskreis magazine, and whoever wants to enroll and subscribe also can come to me. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Then Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now we invite you to prasadam outside.
Hare Krishna. For those who might be listening online, our members, you've probably heard that the Krishnas Freundeskreis is offered to all the members of the KG Society. If you're not able to be here today, you can also collect it from the office anytime. Adi Keshava Prabhu, he will hand it out to you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.